Hello, everyone, and welcome to MDA 136, Medical Law and Ethics. This is a short video about the differences in criminal law and civil law. We are going to cover the differences between intentional torts and unintentional torts. If you don't have your book, you can go ahead and pause the video now so then that way you can get it to follow along if you'd like. We are going to start in Chapter 5. We are starting in the section after the introduction to the chapter. It's going to be the dark red heading that states law and ethics. All right, you guys are ready? So, criminal law, according to the book, involves crimes against the state. So this is really when we see cases that are involving the state or federal government. They believe that people with felonies or misdemeanors are a danger to the state rather than in civil law, which is a crime against another person. So criminal law is defined between two different entities, and the two different types are going to be a felony or a misdemeanor. A felony is a crime punishable by death or imprisonment. This imprisonment could be very significant. It would be more than 365 days. Some examples of a felony could include abuse, arson, manslaughter, murder, attempted murder, fraud, or for practicing medicine without a license. Those are just some of the ones listed in the book. A misdemeanor is going to be defined as a less serious crime than a felony, and it is usually punishable by a restitution fine, or in other words, paying back something that was stolen, or imprisonment for less than a year, so up to 364 days. This is something that we would call jail versus prison. Although they do mention about the prison for less than a year, examples of a misdemeanor would be theft under a certain dollar amount. When it comes to theft, depending on how much of the theft, cost or the monetary amount, it could be considered a felony. Okay, so misdemeanor under a certain dollar amount is for theft. Okay, disturbances of the peace is considered a misdemeanor. Those are just some of the examples. Okay. So felonies are important because as an MA or when you become an MA, if you were to have a felony, that could result in ruining your chances of sitting in for an exam or a certification exam, taking a program such as the one we're taking now. So it can keep, people from gaining, fulfilling employment in certain job positions. Even if you do get into a employment opportunity, there's never any guarantee that you'd be able to be moved to management or handle any more responsibilities or anything like that. And probably some of the reasons is because we deal with, narcotic medications, legal issues in the office, HIPAA laws, that sort of thing. They want to make sure, mature, responsible, non-criminal type people are in the office and around these sort of things, so that way we could protect and secure patients' safety and records and that sort of thing. All right. So civil law, which is really what we're most concerned about in healthcare, we're going to go ahead and give you the definition. Civil law is crimes against a person. So one person to another. This is where we see family law come into play, divorce law, breach of contract, evictions, that sort of thing. Civil crimes are not necessarily crimes where that individual is a danger to society. That would be considered a crime against the state or something criminal. So civil law, again, is crimes against a person. They can be unintentional or intentional, and we're going to talk a little bit about those specifically because those are the ones that we seem to run into in healthcare. Okay, so I am going to change my board for you guys here. So we're going to start in with civil law. Excuse my handwriting. So we have intentional torts. Okay. And this is going to include assault, battery, um, defamation of character, as well. And defamation of character can be torn down into two parts. It can be either libel, or it can be slander. And we're going to cover some of that as well. Okay. We also have false imprisonment. And we also have claims fraud. And we have invasion of privacy. Can you do me a favor, babe, and call David? All right. So let's go ahead and get started on this section here. All right, so intentional torts are many. There's a lot of different kinds of torts out there. Intentional means that they were done on purpose. So intentional meaning it was done on purpose, right? And tort, according to your book, is a civil wrongdoing committed against a person or property that causes physical injury or damage. So make sure that you know the definition of a tort, for sure, when you're going through your vocabulary and that sort of thing. Make sure you know the difference. So a tort, according to your book, is a civil wrongdoing committed against a person or property that causes physical injury or damage. Okay. Assault, according to your book, is an open threat of bodily harm. So this isn't the actual touching or hurting of another person, the actual act of, kind of slapping somebody upside the head or anything like that. The assault is just the threat, okay? This is the threat of it. If I were to threaten you with bodily harm, that would be considered assault. If I actually proceeded through with the action and I just went ahead and, kind of smacked you, then that would be considered battery, okay? So battery is the actual touching, not just the threat. It's the actual physical harm that was done. It would be the follow through. Sometimes people are charged with assault, or sometimes they're charged with assault and battery, or sometimes they're just, it depends on the situation, on what they're going to be charged with. And so I'm sure you're wondering, why are we talking about assault and battery in healthcare? It's kind of crazy to think, right, that it happens. But in your book, under assault and battery, you'll see that this can occur in the healthcare setting. If a patient were to feel threatened in any way, they could file assault charges. Okay. Battery charges they could file if we were to proceed with an injection or something that we could inflict physical harm to a person or anything like that, and we didn't get their actual consent, or there were unauthorized touchings of some sort, then this can be included in the realm of battery. So this is why we as healthcare professionals need to definitely be aware of this. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about defamation of character. All right. So defamation of character is the damaging of someone's reputation by making public statements that are false and malicious. I'm sure you guys have heard of this in some sense or another. So defamation of character, and it can happen in two different ways. And so that's why I went ahead and I kind of scored these off a little bit. And we're going to go ahead and get into that now. So libel is when you write the public statement, you write a public statement of false and malicious information. Okay, so you're writing it out. So it has to be written down, or it has to be some sort of written statement. Okay. Slander is when you speak of it, or we speak damaging words intended for the negative influence on someone else. They are both defamation of character still. They're both types of defamation of character, I should say. Okay. So, an example of like libel written slander or written defamation of character would be like your Facebook, Snapchat, Yelp. If you were to write anything like that in a public instance on a platform like that, slander is spoken. Okay. So we might see a video or of someone speaking about about defamation of somebody else, or hearing something in an open forum. Like, you're walking around somewhere, you're in a medical office, and you kind of overhear something. Okay. So keep that in mind. Those are the two different types of defamation of character. Okay. The next item here is going to be false imprisonment, and that is unfortunately a possibility in healthcare. You don't really think so, but this is the unlawful restraint or confinement of a person, or preventing them from leaving the facility or patient rooms. Okay. Like I said, I know that sounds kind of crazy. Like, why would we keep somebody, right? But we do find that this sometimes does occur. This is one of the most familiar, or at least closest to medical administration, or well, not this one, but the next one. So what if a patient wants to leave the room and you don't, allow them to leave or something like that? So as long as it's reasonable and they're checking themselves out, they are able to leave. Okay. And then the next one, like I said, that we're going to go into is actually the closest to medical administration, and it's going to be claims fraud. Okay. And fraud is the intention to deceive another or misrepresent something. Okay. And in filing claims, that happens. Filing claims that are fraudulent means that as a biller or as a healthcare administrative professional, we perhaps billed claims that didn't occur. So then that way we could gain monies, or we altered a patient's medical records in some way so that a claim could get paid. Claims fraud is a big deal, folks. Okay. And altering or filing claims that did not occur in a way that is fraudulent is considered very intentional, right? Because there's monetary gain, right? Does that make sense? Okay, and then the last one that I have here is going to be the invasion of privacy. Okay. So invasion of privacy is an interference with a person's right to keep personal matters private. This is where HIPAA comes in. We want to make sure that we are keeping patients' protected health information confidential and private. We want to ensure that we're protecting them, right? We want to make sure that it does not get in any way seen by anybody else that it doesn't need to be seen for. Another invasion of privacy example would be knocking on a door. Something as simple as knocking on a door before you enter the patient rooms. It's critical that you give warning before entering, okay? You can't just barge in, or, I know they're expecting to be at the doctor and somebody to come in, but you definitely need to give them some privacy, okay? So a good knock is always good before entering. As healthcare administrators, we are protectors of patients' protected health information, and we need to safeguard it and secure it, and make sure that we're safeguarding it in ways that are always following the law, okay? And we'll talk more about that as well in the chapter HIPAA. You never forget HIPAA, right? All right, so I am going to go ahead and change my board again for you guys. Oops. I just spilled my juice everywhere. All right, let's see here. All right, and so for this one, we're going to move on to unintentional torts. Okay? Unintentional torts. Okay? So Unintentional torts are the most common. Okay. It was never intended, not intended to cause harm. They are committed unreasonably. Negligence. Okay, and that's the failure to exercise reasonable care. Okay? All right. So as far as our unintentional torts go, this is going to be the last thing that we're going to cover today. Unintentional torts, they are the most common type of tort in healthcare. This is not intended to cause harm, but it was committed in an unreasonable way, okay? The word in the definition for this here is going to be negligence. Negligence is a failure to exercise reasonable care. Most of your healthcare civil tort cases we see are going to be because the provider or the agent, an agent being the medical assistant or the administrative assistant, failed to exercise reasonable care. Okay, you're going to need to know this. Even though it is unintentional, it still caused harm in some way, kind of a thing, okay? And these are the sort of cases that end up in court where a judge and jury is going to be, stuck having to decide whether the defendant is negligent or whether they're partially negligent. Was the physician negligent or the patient? Were they partially negligent on each side? That would have to do with something called contributory negligence. The physician is partially negligent, patient is partially negligent. They each contributed in some sort of way. But nonetheless, this is considered an unintentional tort, but because it was committed unreasonably, it is considered a tort and civil crime. Okay? And this is going to conclude just part 1. We are going to still continue to touch base, and we'll continue to discuss medical law and ethics a little bit further. Chapter 5 is the only chapter we're covering for the next 4 days. This is a short little class, but I certainly hope that you guys read through the chapter. If you haven't gotten a chance yet, go ahead and read through the chapter. Take as many notes as you can, okay? All right, I will talk to you guys later. If you guys have any questions or concerns, feel free to reach out.